What's up, everybody? Welcome into a Friday edition of The Slate. We got a lot to cover. Adam Kaufman with you. We got Matt LaMarca, Jeff Ulrich. We're going to bounce around to NBA, maybe some MLB, definitely NHL, PGA. All the while, we've got undercover boss Tom, our technical director, and Eamon, who's in Foxborough fending off Swifties. We have got a lot on our minds. Boys, it's good to see you. LaMarca, first and foremost, I'm not even going to do the pleasantries and the hi, how are you? Because you guys get mad at me every time that I try and be polite with you. So let's just jump into the action.
Okay.
Talk basketball tonight, okay? Fresh
Wow.
off the excitement that was game 2 in the West. We have game 2 in the East tonight in Boston, where, man, I mean, the bettors do not believe Boston will allow itself to go down 0-2 to Miami at the Garden. How are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I think that's the general perception, is that, the Celtics are the better team, but they just go into these funks. And we did kind of see them establish their dominance early in game 1. They were up double digits at points in the first half. I do kind of have a hard time believing that they're going to be down 0-2 headed back to Miami, but it's just a lot of points, man. The Heat are not the type of team that just lays down.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to beat them by double digits, you're going to have to play a pretty complete game. And I don't know how often we've seen that from the Celtics during the postseason, to be honest. I mean, Jason Tatum went off in, the game 7 victory over the 76ers, but then he was kind of invisible in the fourth quarter of game 1. So
Literally didn't attempt a shot.
Yeah. So that's not optimal. I will trust the Sharps because, they're the Sharps for a reason. They like the Celtics here, but it would not surprise me if this game was close.
Well, listen, they like the Celtics, but as I look at the VEASAN numbers, which of course is the DraftKings Sportsbook, and see just where the handle's going, where the bet's going, yes, it shouldn't be surprising that the bulk of the handle, the bulk of the money is on the money line, where there is no value, by the way, whatsoever. I'm looking at minus 435 for the Celtics to win this game. But if you look at the spread, which is what you were alluding to before, 9.5 points, Boston's favored by, we got like a 75-25 split in terms of the bets going Miami with the points the other way, and the handle's being bet up right now on the Miami side as well. So most people are inclined to believe this is going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, the VEASAN numbers, that's specifically to DraftKings Sportsbook, which is what we're talking about. I think at other locations, you'll find more Celtics money out there. So that's why I'm saying that the Sharps are kind of liking the Celtics. We've seen this number go from 9 to 9.5, despite all of the Heat money that you alluded to. So that's another sort of indicator of sharp activity. And just in general, right? The Celtics were a far superior team to the Heat during the regular season. The one thing that's kind of been odd is that the Celtics are really the lone team remaining in the postseason that seem to have no real home court advantage, right?
Yeah.
The Nuggets, Lakers, and Heat all undefeated at home during the playoffs. The Celtics are just a couple games over 500.
And actually, I was looking at a number too. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something like they're 10-16 their last 26 home playoff games. And I know that's not all this group of people that's here, but it's the key players. They've been around.
So that's another thing that, makes me feel this game might be close. Again, I tend to just, whenever the Sharps see something differently than I do, I kind of defer to them. I think that, they've earned the respect in the betting market for a reason, but, 10 points, it just feels like a lot to ask for the Celtics to win this game by that much.
The over absolutely smashed in game 1. I mean, like a couple minutes into the fourth quarter, it was done. It's a popular bet tonight, 215, similar number to what it was going into game 1. Do you expect it? Most people seem to believe if the Celtics do go out and win this game, whether it's close or not, it's going to be a credit to them locking down more so defensively as opposed to the shootout that we saw in game 1. What's your mindset in terms of whether you'd bet the over, what kind of game you expect it to be?
I like the under. I think that this is an under spot. I expect the Celtics defense to really bounce back even more than their offense per se. Like, this is a team that's tough to get buckets against. They were very stingy at defending the 3-point line during the regular season. And that's really where a lot of Miami's non-Jimmy Butler offense comes from, right? If you can slow down Jimmy Butler, the Heat need to make threes to beat you, right? Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and Kyle Lowry, these guys really aren't striking fear into the hearts of defense with their ability to get to the rim. They need to be a good perimeter shooting team. And so I think the Celtics will do a better job of getting them off the 3-point line in this matchup. And if you can do that, the Heat's ability to score the ball really suffers, right? Like, outside of Jimmy Butler and maybe a little bit of Bam Adebayo, there's nobody that you really feel comfortable with going to on the offensive side of the floor.
You mentioned Bam, one of my favorite bets, independent of this series, even just one of my favorite bets in the playoffs so far. And it hits whatever the percentage, but a vast majority of the time is parlaying Bam 15 points, 8 rebounds. It just seems that those are virtually automatic numbers for him. And so it's, if you're looking for parlay pieces, or even if you just want to do those two legs by themselves as kind of a Bam Adebayo parlay, whatever it is that you want to do, certainly the straight bets. But are you drawn to any particular props in this one, whether it's, any of the traditional categories or combos or whatever it may be?
I'm probably going to continue to look at the Robert Williams props. They made the decision to put him back into the starting lineup towards the tail end of that 76er series. And his numbers are still relatively reasonable. 7.5 is the rebound number. I think as long as Robert Williams continues to start, that number is a little bit too low.
How about, because this is whenever I'm watching the Celtics, I find it difficult to anticipate when it comes to the guards, because, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, I'm fairly comfortable that more often than not, 2 out of the 3 are going to be very good, and then 1 is going to be an odd man out, just statistically speaking, not in terms of minutes. Malcolm Brogdon goes into this game. I expect him to play, but technically he is listed as probable, dealing with an injury that bugged him a little bit last time out. That being said, he still had a good game a couple of days ago. So when it comes to the guards specifically, are you, I know a lot of people are high on Derek White's over points, for instance, that prop, which I know at one point in time it was 8.5. It's been still sitting at 8.5 on DK right now. How are you feeling about these guys?
So I'm way down on Derek White. This number is low. He can hit the over with a good shooting performance, but like he's now played 20 minutes essentially or less in 3 straight games. He does have 9+ points in 2 of them, but he's been 60% from 3-point range in both games. So that's really the type of shooting performance that you're going to need from Derek White here, assuming that his role doesn't change. And I think that Marcus Smart really is solidified into that starting guard spot. As much as there are times where the Celtic fans may not want him on the floor as much as he is, he's going to get to, 38 minutes. So I think Brogdon has taken that spot where he is the preferred option off the bench compared to Derek White. I think even considering where the odds are right now, I would take the under on 8.5, given that it's plus 115. I don't necessarily want to lay minus 145 on the over and then bank on the fact that he's going to shoot, 50% or better from 3-point range again.
So it's a little bit less about you thinking he can't get there and just more about, hey, there's value in going under.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I want to, just because it's a Friday show and obviously we won't have another opportunity beforehand, and Jeff has been sitting quiet and idly by. We are going to get to hockey and golf talk with him. But while we're talking hoops, I want to mix in a little bit of obviously what to expect in game 3 coming up, what is tomorrow night at this point in time, between the Lakers and Nuggets. Denver did its job at home, took both games, obviously. Both wound up being very narrow. I mean, right on or around the spread. It was, credit to the odds makers. They know what they're doing, obviously. And once again, we're looking at 5.5. This time, the Lakers favored at home. This is not out of character, but LeBron James in game one, more of a feel out, somewhat passive performance out of him. Game two, a little bit more aggressive. Still wasn't LeBron, starting to show maybe a little bit of age or fatigue or whatever it is. Wasn't helped out all that much by Anthony Davis, obviously. What are you expecting here in game three?
I mean, it doesn't help that LeBron seemingly can't buy a bucket from 3-point range at the moment. And, specifically in the fourth quarter of game four, he was 0 for 3 from 3-point range. It doesn't feel like he's really feeling it as a shooter at the moment. So, I look at this game and I see all the reasons for taking the Lakers, right? They're the desperate team. They're now the home team. But for this spread to shift from 5.5 in Denver, -5.5, to now -5.5 in Los Angeles, that is an 11-point swing.
Yeah.
That feels wild to me. And I know that Denver's not the same team when they're playing on the road, but, I kind of think that if this number continues to rise, right, it opened at 3.5 and it has just been an avalanche of Lakers money because everybody expects them to, bounce back. If this number continues to push and gets into the 6 range, maybe even 6.5, I will be very tempted to grab the Nuggets at that number.
I realize it's early. Again, this is per VSiN, so this doesn't account for all books. This is the DraftKings sports book, but 95% of the handle is on the Lakers money line.
It's similar, and spread wise too. It's very similar across the industry. I'm seeing like 95, 96% even spread dollars on the Lakers at the moment.
It's an obscene amount, isn't it? I mean, would you say it like the Nuggets were pretty good in the first cup? They could have won the first game by
handily. Yeah.
I thought game two was a little bit more of a heist.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was a 23-point fourth quarter by Jamal Murray.
Yeah, they got super hot from 3-point range, particularly Murray, but MPJ also knocked down a couple. But I do look back at that game, and are you getting 21 points from Rui Hachimura on 80% shooting again from the Lakers?
No.
Are you getting a 9 for 21 showing from Nikola Jokic again? Right? He's been closer to 70% for most of the playoffs.
That's the thing with the Nuggets, right, Matt? They have guys who can go off. So when they do it, it's less shocking. But I don't know. I looked at this line and I was like, I just figured someone was injured almost for Denver to be this big an underdog, but I don't know. Weird, man.
It's just it's the philosophy of
it's the home court and
the home teams and just the game 3 desperation.
Yeah.
I'm looking ahead. I just want to look at futures real quick with these 4 teams that are remaining, because it's so clear to me, and good. This makes sense, because what I was going to say is Denver's clearly, and I don't even say this just because they're ahead 2-0 and Boston's down 0-1, but Denver is just, to me, clearly the best team in basketball right now, or at least is playing like it in this moment. But it should really go without saying that one of those 2 teams is going to win the championship. I just don't see a universe in which the Lakers or even the Heat, out of all due respect to and even if the Heat do beat the Celtics and advance to the finals, I just think it's then Denver's to lose. I think Denver is playing such good basketball right now, and if healthy, are so well-rounded. And obviously, Jokic being the head of the snake, but Murray and MPJ and Gordon and even Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can steal a game. They have so much talent on that team that, man, there's really no value out there, is there?
You just take the Nuggets.
I would say that if you think if the Heat can beat the Celtics and they've already beaten the Bucks, I don't see any reason why they couldn't then beat Denver. I don't think Denver is that much better than Boston and Miami and Milwaukee. And honestly, if the Celtics,
keep in mind Milwaukee, Giannis missed 3 games.
Yeah, fair. If the Celtics win this series, Kaufman, they're going to be favored in the finals.
They will,
against Denver,
because they'll have home court.
And honestly, that doesn't even. I think that they're just perceived as the better team. I mean, look at these numbers. One of those 2 teams up at the top is up 2-0 in their series, and the other one is down 0-1 with a game to play. Like the sports books still think that the Celtics are the better team.
Yeah.
As much as impressive as Nikola Jokic has been, as impressive as Jamal Murray has been, the Celtics still have the better roster.
Well, thank you for making me feel a little bit better, because I'm coming at this with no bias whatsoever.
Major sucking up to the host vibes.
Hey,
right
I'm the guy that said that the Heat could beat the Celtics. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they get past Miami.
All right, let's mute him and move to Moose and talk hockey here, because Jeff, if ever there was a time where you are completely at the advantage for being on a different time zone than Lamarca and I, like, you didn't even have to stay up late to watch a 17 overtime game last night.
No, it was weird. It was like, I'm just like, it's Thursday. I had kind of a light night for once in my life and didn't have like some kind of deadline early in the morning. So I was just like ready to turn on a movie or something. And I'm like, oh, the game's still on. And I had some props checking out, but they'd hit and it just kept going and going. So
I hope you played the over on every shot prop.
Yeah, every shot prop, definitely. And the save props as always. Hey, you know what? It's worth noting, like when you're taking shot props in the playoffs, it is actually worth noting that like the overtime can help you, because you're not getting 5-minute overtimes where there's like 2 people on the ice. You're getting full periods of overtime. So it is something to keep in mind for betting. I mean, I always keep that in mind. It's just an extra out when you're taking an over on a shot prop. So and same with the save props.
It does feel like there's a lot of overtime in playoff hockey too.
Well, I was just going to ask because
it's been a light year for it. It's been a light year for it, but there is a lot of overtime. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, well, again, I could just go back and look, but I haven't done it. I wonder what percentage of playoff games, even just this year or last year, go to overtime.
I know that
4 overtimes.
I know that this season has been a little bit like not as much, but typically, every series usually gets at least 1 or 2. So that's kind of the percentile of it. But the game played out as I thought. It was close. It was low scoring. The offenses didn't start well. The goalies were probably the best players in the game for both sides. The only thing that didn't, I thought Carolina would be the team that got it. But I mean, like Florida they have Matthew Tkachuk, who scored the winner, and he might be the best player left. Not might. I mean, well, him and Rupe Hintz. I mean, probably the 2 best players left in just terms of skaters right now. So
great hockey name, Rupe Hintz.
Oh no, Rupe Hintz I hope Dallas wins just so people can bask in his greatness. It is a great name, but yeah, like it's the Panthers have a lot of high end skill, and that's what kind of won them the game. And Bobrovsky is still being Bobrovsky, playoff Bobrovsky. This team definitely has a path to win. So it's tough to come back from it too. I know one of the local the local radio personalities in Edmonton threw it out earlier today. Like teams that lose these triple overtime games, they don't have a great record coming back and winning the series. So tough hill to climb for Carolina. That being said, Carolina's good. I do like them to bounce back in that second game. I would even look at them potentially on the puck line at plus 170. Mm-hmm. But certainly if you want a little bit more safety, the money line's fine. I just feel like the Panthers got their one game. Carolina, they did control. They had way more shots. I think that I would not be shocked if Florida gets behind a little bit and that game just ends up like 3-1, 3-0 kind of thing. So that's why I'm looking at that second game. Still think the unders, you can keep playing them. I won't be shocked if we get a lot of games like that either. So, but then the game tonight, I think it's going to be quite a bit different. I think it could be more wide open. Both teams typically score in bunches. You got
money's over. Still 5.5 goals.
Still 5.5 goals. Hasn't moved.
Yeah.
So again, I thought this one would move. I really did. I thought that people would start piling in, but I almost feels like maybe people are a little nervous now after last night. So, but I think the series will be different. The goalies, way different story here. Aiden Hill, like we've talked about, career backup essentially. Ottinger's been up and down, and Stars special teams. Vegas, just opportunistic. I think you'll see more goals.
We were talking earlier today on the Sweat, from a DFS perspective, you were really high on Joe Pavelski, but obviously, same thing sort of applies to betting. And he's been scorching hot. You include the playoffs, 36 goals this year. I think the number is 9 goals his last 10 games here in the postseason right now. Of course, one of them, I think he had 4 goals. So, it's a little skewed, but even still, he's been incredible thus far. Are there certain props from this game tonight that you're keying in on?
Yeah, no. If we're going to the shot props, I mean, Pavelski at plus 125, certainly I don't hate. I think just getting him at the plus money right now is always pretty solid. I mean, it's been a little bit up or down. Hintz has been taking a little bit more of the action, but I just think that number, like Pavelski over the long term, that's probably a winning number. You often will see him on the flip side of those odds. I will say this. I like Vegas to kind of carry the play in terms of just shots on goal. So if you're really sort of looking there, like I would be looking at a guy like maybe not Mark Stone, but maybe down the list, like Riley Smith, a plus 135, certainly is in play. Dallas let a lot of shots against Seattle, especially in a couple games in particular. So I would not be shocked if you saw a bit more. Jonathan Marchessault was a great target. I don't know if I want to take 3.5, but I think the other way you can play it, and I brought this up. Oh yeah, you hosted, so I forgot. You hosted this morning on the Sweat, but just take Jake Ottinger.
Long day.
Over 27.5 saves. I like that. Again, I think Vegas will probably carry the play a little bit. They're the home team. Dallas certainly allowed a lot of shots to Seattle. And I think Vegas plays a little bit of a similar style. So Ottinger over 27.5 saves.
Are you more inclined to go over on Pavelski versus over on someone like Hintz simply because you can get plus money on it?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, like the odds, like the Pavelski play is a simple just play the odds. I mean, Rupe Hintz, I would rather just wait and see how the series goes with Rupe Hintz, because he's going to be matched up against Jack Eichel potentially, which is fine. Like I don't think he can't win that matchup, but it was a different series against Seattle. Seattle didn't have any depth at center. I think Pavelski is just in a better spot. So a little bit of it is just the number, sure, but you shouldn't just bet numbers because they're bigger, obviously. I just think Pavelski is more likely to get a little bit more open in this series, just given the lineups. So that's why I'm going to play it to start. But we'll see for game 2. If Hintz just keeps dominating, then certainly go back to him for this kind of prop.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Unless you have anything else to add on hockey, let's switch gears to PGA, obviously, because it is a major round 2 at the PGA Championship, and Scotty Scheffler, who is the by far favored to win right now in the DK Sportsbook. He's had a really good day. Just to give you some specifics, so he's still on the course, 3 under for his day through 15. He is a co-leader with Corey Connors right now. They're both 6 under. Bryson, not as good a day for him. He's trying to rebound. He's 2 over through 11. He's 2 under overall after a 66 yesterday, obviously, which left everybody talking. Has anything stood out to you on day 2 so far? I know we're not complete yet.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it and honestly, in a lot of ways, it's playing out a little bit like the Masters. It's just that instead of Scotty Scheffler, instead of John Rahm and Brooks Koepka, it's kind of a little bit of that like Bryson and Scotty Scheffler, where we're getting a live guy in contention. Obviously, there's other players here too. Like I'm not discounting Hovland or Connors or anything like that, but it does kind of feel like those 2 guys are obviously the leaders here. Yeah, the field right now is. I mean, I don't even know what we like. Scheffler is certainly. He's going to be a hard man to beat. If you're going to beat Scotty Scheffler, like the mistakes on the weekend are going to have to be basically none. So, looking at the guys that are up there right now, I really like Corey Connors as a player. It's his first time in this kind of position going into the weekend. Certainly he's got the ball striking to be on par with anyone, but like the misses with Connors are going to have to be nil on the weekend, because if he misses it, he just doesn't have the kind of recoverability that Scotty Scheffler does in his game. I would feel more confident about Hovland, who's been a little bit better this year in that kind of part of his game. He's got the same kind of flaws, but I really do give Hovland a chance here. That is where I would go right now. Looks like the odds just moved. He may have just made a birdie or something. So plus 650 for Hovland. That's kind of where I would be looking. Like, I think Hovland's in a really good spot. He's a player a lot of people have projected to win a major at some point. He's been involved in the majors. He was, first round leader at the Masters. He can get it done. So it is, you don't need to take on Scotty Scheffler in this position. Like, you really don't. But if you're looking there, I mean, certainly Hovland is the name I would look to right now. And I'm not counting Bryson out either. I'm really not. He has completely changed his game. If he can just stick around, we've still got 2 rounds to go. Bryson can, as he showed, the big rounds are there. If Scheffler has any cracks or he just, falls back a bit on Sunday, I would look. So the 2 guys I have a big interest in would be Hovland and Bryson. Bryson carries a lot more question marks, but Connors, Keegan, Keegan's having a nice tournament, but I just don't know if those 2 guys, I wouldn't be wanting to trust them. So I really look at it as when it comes down to it, we'll probably see some kind of Hovland, Bryson, Scheffler, mono match here.
Still obviously a lot to shake out. Hovland, he's 3rd place, 4 under, but 2 under on the day through 13. You mentioned Keegan Bradley. He is 1 under today through 11. DeChambeau is actually 2 over through his 11, but again, a lot of holes left. Speaking of, you mentioned John.
Can I make a point?
Yeah, what's that?
I want to make a point.
Yeah, make a point.
I don't like this course.
Okay.
The PGA Championship.
Is there more to that?
The PGA Championship should be a birdie fest. I want to see guys go low. I don't want to see people scratching to break even par. Come on now. This isn't the U.S. Open. Yeah. Know your role, PGA Championship. Give the people what they want.
It's kind of I understand why they're starting to, because it was tough last year too, and I kind of understand it. They're trying to, I think it feels like they're trying to add legitimacy to their major and be like, look, we're just as tough as the U.S. Open. You can't just write us off. You're not going to come in here, boys, and shoot like 20 under. But I do kind of side with you in that in a little bit. I don't know if I need 2 events in 2 months where the winning score is par or +2. That's a little much. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like maybe it's just the couple venues. I'm not in love with this venue either, to be honest. I think it's gone a little bit too far the other way. It's a little bit too quirky. It's already a technical track. I don't think you needed the rough to be up to my waist and also just have these enormous greens that are hard to putt on and all this. They could have just dialed it back just a little bit, and I think it would have been a -10 winning score, and it would have been a lot cooler. But I'm not really in love with this either, to be honest. It's waking up and your guy's 5 over through 3 holes because he hit it into the green side rough and had an impossible lie. Yeah, I like tough golf, but that's pretty stupid.
It makes it so that the weekend is going to be less exciting, in my opinion.
Slog.
Just not having the threat of a guy being able to go 5-6 under and charge up the leaderboard. I'm with Jeff. Just from a betting perspective, it's hard to look at anybody who's not currently in the red figures. You know what I'm saying? And there's only 8 guys that are in red figures.
You guys know I usually talk about the guys down the board at plus 3,000. I don't think you should be going too far down the board.
I will say Justin Suh at plus 10,000 though.
I mean, he is a player. Hey,
he exists. That is.
No, I mean, he is a real player. He doesn't just exist. He came up with the big boys like Spieth and Hovland. He could do it, but it is boy, yeah, tough. Just tough golf this week, man. That's the way to put it.
Moose, not being a big golf guy, can I let me ask you an idea, thought for a bet, okay? So I'm exploring. I'm looking for maybe a little bit of value here. Jon Rahm, as we know, abysmal round 1. He went 6 over today. Much better. He's even. He's not done yet. He is not currently projected to make the cut. He's 1 off. Okay, he's 1 off. Projected cut line is 5 over, to Lamarcus' point about lousy golf. Whereas Rahm sitting even through 12 holes at 6 over. If you were thinking that Jon Rahm is going to be Jon Rahm, even if he had the kind of turnaround that we're seeing from day 1 to day 2, manages to make the cut in these last half dozen holes that he has. If you were thinking Jon Rahm to finish top 20, which is not a ton to overcome, because I want to say top 20 is one over right now. Plus 240 odds. Do you have the faith that he can do that he can leapfrog that many people?
Yeah, no, absolutely he could. But don't bet him until he finishes his round.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, make sure.
But the thing is, when he finishes his round, that number won't be there. So
Right. So that's
like,
that's the
if he
flyer
makes
you're
the
taking.
cut. He's already moved up. He's plus 170. So,
see, even when I started having the idea, people were betting it.
I actually think it's a good idea what you're talking about, because you're going to see a lot of movement. Some guys back up, they shoot 2 under. There's going to be a bunch of guys who are like in T16 and they're going to shoot 4 over. Rahm is certainly on there, but I would look at other players, players who are good, but they had rough starts. Finau, Fleetwood. God, going back, even my guy Yager's up there, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, if you're looking just for weekend bets, absolutely looking at the live top 20 market, you're going to get a ton of movement here, just from the perspective of, if some of these guys shoot even par, the field is going to be shooting like 5 over. So again, disappointing start for some of these players, but some of them aren't playing that bad. And if you can just go and look at the kind of tee to green stats, who's played okay. Again, like I would definitely probably look at Tommy Fleetwood, who had like 1 bad drive, had a double. Other than that, he's been really good. Plus 210 right now for a top 20. It's a top 20 just magnet in majors as well. That's probably where I would go. But certainly if Rahm is at a decent number, yeah, just for like even like plus 100. Let's say he gets to plus 5 and his number's like plus 120. Yeah, absolutely, man. There's going to be a ton of movement between those kind of positions.
Thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it. All right, I think we need to call it a show, because we got a Madden sim on the way in just a few minutes. It's the virtual Dolphins against the virtual Steelers. Is it who's Pitt's quarterback? Is it Kenny Pickens in Simland?
Big Ken. Yeah.
I don't think that's a real person.
Or Kenny Pickett?
That might be
Pickens.
You jerk. Pickett.
Creative
I'm not in football
Kenny
mode
Pickens.
right now. I'm not in football mode. I'm not there yet. I need a little time.
Speaking of football, if I can make a quick plug to myself.
Sure. Yeah. Plug yourself.
Put out a cool little thread on Twitter. 5 interesting betting trends for week 1. So
okay,
hop on over to that if you're feeling generous and you want to gain a little information.
All right. Well, you can find Lamarca at Matt Lamarca. Very easy to remember. You can find Moose at The Fantasy Grind and me at Adam M. Kaufman. Thank you all for being with us. Happy betting tonight and throughout the weekend. You got playoffs. You got golf, obviously. Major golf on a weekend, which is always fun. If only Tiger Woods were involved, unfortunately. And you got Major League Baseball and all kinds of games to bet. A lot of heavy favorites tonight. A lot of money swinging in those directions. We'll see how all of that shakes out. Hopefully no upsets, because that would be bad for me. And go Celtics. Thanks to Eamon. Thanks to Undercover Boss Tom. You shut up. Thanks to Lamarca, as well as Moose. I'm Adam. We'll see you.